Hi, beautiful. Today I'm going to share with you my journey working with Robin. When Robin first came to me, she was at that place of hitting rock bottom, feeling desperate, feeling devastated, and really realizing how she had really lost herself in her relationship. Her boyfriend of over 2 years, whom she had thought she was going to marry, basically broke up with her and told her that he just wasn't feeling it anymore. And so when Robin showed up to our first session, it was obvious that she was, trying so hard to figure out how she could be a goddess, how she could ignite that spark, that she was really disconnected from her own worth and her own power as a woman. And she was disconnected from her own desires and what she wanted and how she wanted to be treated. So in a sense, this is Robin's journey of coming back home to herself. And, a few days ago, Robin ran back into her ex, and he immediately picked up on her energy and on the changes within her, and he felt incredibly attracted to her. And I want you to hear about how amazing their time together was. In Robin's word, it was magical. And just to encourage you that this can be you, and to remember that your greatest radiance and beauty as a woman comes from your heart and comes from your relationship with yourself and your ability to create that relationship of freedom with a man. So my name is Jordana Tocacelli, and I am a relationship, dating, and intimacy coach. And last year I had the honor of coaching, mentoring, and talking to thousands of women and over 100 men, and helping them attract soul-satisfying love in their life, reignite marriages, get back together with exes, bring in life partners, get engaged, and just, the full gamut of what it means to attract the love that you want. And so without further ado, here's my talk with Robin. If you like this video, just go ahead and like it, share it with your girlfriends. It's a powerful message. And leave your comments. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you want out of your life and what you're looking for in love. I'll definitely be responding to those. So here's Robin's story, and I promise I'll have more amazing stuff coming your way. Talk soon. Robin, I am so excited to have you with us today. We have done a journey together, and in that journey together, we've kind of really gone deep into self-love, and we've, talked about men and talked about feminine energy, and just talked about, a lot of the things that we've been taught as women in relationships. And, you really, really did get it. You got what feminine energy is about, and how how powerful it is when you can tap into that within yourself and really give that space to a man. I think a lot of women feel, they're caught up in this cycle of self-rejection and self-control, and they think that in order to get love, they have to put on an image or be sexier or be perfect or be all these things. And I think, as you and I saw in even our journey together, really coming back to love is coming back to love within yourself. And so I think your story is so impactful that I just want to share with so many women that are going to relate to your story. And I think your story is all of our stories in many ways, but your story is that coming full circle. And just to share a little bit, you first came to work with me 3 months ago because you'd just been through a very painful breakup. And just this weekend, you saw your ex again for the first time, and it went really well. And so like I said, I just want to take some time for you to share your stories. Where were you at the first time we had a conversation?
I was probably in one of the lowest places I think I've ever been in, of just feeling like, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? Why wouldn't somebody want to be with me? And just as kind of everything, I remember seeing photos of myself and being like, oh my God, don't put that anywhere. Like, I can't deal with look like there's something wrong. And feeling like I could not understand kind of what had happened. And yet also knowing that there was something that I desperately needed to change, that I felt like I was in a place where I could see myself closing to all of these things and getting smaller and smaller and just like throwing myself into work instead. And something was calling me to do something different.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And how would you say that you were used to relating to your man at that time?
Yeah. So I think at that time, I feel like I was always trying to be like one step ahead and thinking through like okay, what's our next step going to be? And really trying to drive as much as I could. Our conversations, our plans, everything was trying so hard to relate to him. And actually, to one point, I was in my Amazon checkout cart the other day, and I came across a book that I had saved for later. And I remember it was the book that I was trying to get the night before we broke up. And it was like, it had some very desperate title. I can't remember what it was, but it was like my one attempt to be like, and it felt so manipulative. I felt like I'd gotten into this place of like trying so hard to chase and keep our love alive, like knowing that there was something there, and knowing it was like I could feel it just like leaving me and wanting to grasp
Away, yeah, totally.
even more.
Totally. And why do you think that was, Robin? Why did you think it had come to that place?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many things that contributed to it, but I think one of the pieces that I've come to realize is just how much of it came from where I was. And that like he has his own things that he has to deal with, and that's kind of a part of the story. But for me, it was so much of this pressure that I was putting on myself to have a certain type of life and a certain kind of way of relating to all my friends, and kind of keeping up with where I was with my job and my position, and wanting so much to have this kind of be completed, and like to have us move forward, and really want some driving commitment from him, and really needing something from him, and feeling like I had this kind of thirst for something that I couldn't quench, really, that I didn't know where to get it from. So I just kept pushing harder to get it from him.
Yeah, yeah. And wouldn't you say that's kind of like the place that a lot of us women can get caught up, right? It's almost like, what would you say was the biggest driver of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest driver I wanted us to get married. I wanted us to have this life together. And I think it was this drive to want to feel safe and want to be in a relationship that I knew I could count on. And yet was approaching it from all the wrong ways, of just this feeling like, why wouldn't you want to be with me? And like trying so hard that I could just watch him kind of retracting from that energy, and yet not knowing at all how to stop that. And my way of stopping it was the way, or attempting to stop it was the way I would approach anything, which was pour more energy into it.
Yes.
And he would just run further. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can so relate. And how would you say, I think one of the most amazing and beautiful, I mean, it was such an honor for me to watch you blossom through this journey, right? But one of the things that, and I remember my heart going out to you so much, was just watching you kind of like, when this breakup happened, that pattern of kind of like self-blame, and what did I do wrong, and who should I be to get this love, right? That question that all of us women ask ourselves before we kind of come to that inner place. I mean, I certainly went through that myself as well. So can you just share a little bit about how you learned to walk yourself out of that place and into a place of just self-acceptance?
Yeah. Well, that was, I think, the hardest part of like realize. I remember coming in the first session being like, okay, so Jay, I want to be like radiant and beautiful, and like just feel so free and flowing, and I remember you saying like who's putting that pressure on you? Like that's a lot of pressure, and having to pause for a moment and really think like, wow, like that's me kind of holding myself to this expectation that like, what if we just let that drop for a moment? We can always pick it back up, but let's let that drop for a moment and just explore what it's like not to have that. And I think in doing that, and in having you give me permission, and then me eventually give myself permission to put that down, lay that down for a moment, I was able to realize how many different places I was trying to fit myself into, different boxes and different shapes, really, to fit what was he needing at the time, and like what was I needing, and just like trying so hard to really fit these shapes that I wasn't. And really, I think for me, it was really coming back to what to myself, to what do I really, really want, and that it's okay that I have needs. That doesn't mean, I explored a lot. What does it mean to be needy? I came in feeling like I don't want to be needy. I wanted to be like independent and by myself, and like not have to, like my feelings were not his responsibility, and yet feeling this guilt over having this need, like needing something
Yeah.
in him.
Yeah, and what did that guilt feel inside of you like?
Oh my gosh, it was like, it was like an internal war inside of like this one side saying, you can do this all by yourself. And the other side being like, well, but you need to, and feeling, oh my God, you are so weak. Like, and just this internal dialogue of such, yeah, self-doubt and negativity related to who I was, and really coming back to being my own friend. And I think that was a huge breakthrough for me of like, what does it mean for me to really like pour as much love as I was for other people into me? Like, what does that look like? And that was really challenging at first to even know where's the first place you begin.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, right, the ending the war with your own heart, right, which is,
Yeah.
what do I have to be for other people to love me and accept me, right? So when your neediness would come up, so you talked about it, and this is so typical of the messaging that we receive, men and women, but whatever it is inside of us that we feel we shouldn't have or we're ashamed of, we kind of go to war on it, right? And so the messaging that a lot of women are getting is, you shouldn't need men, you should be independent and essentially not have a need. And yet it creates that sense, but inside, but I do need a man, but I do desire a man, but I do desire a partner, right?
Yeah.
So how did you kind of make peace with the part of yourself that was pulling you towards, this thing of being super independent, and the part of you that was saying, I'm okay with having needs?
Yeah. I think for me, it was, a multiple step process, but the first part was identifying that I actually had multiple parts. That
Yeah.
I for so long, felt conflicted because I knew internally that there were, sometimes I really love to be in control and, you know, dominate a room when I'm giving a presentation. Sometimes I like to come in and be softer and be able to be one-on-one with someone, and like, how could I have both of those parts? And I remember having that kind of language, and you say, well, part of you is not ready to let him go yet. And part of you is ready to move on. It's like, oh my God, I can have two parts. Like I can actually have more than two parts. And that was amazing to just start to talk about myself in terms of having these different parts, and each parts of those are really important to me, and could all kind of coexist. And sometimes, and I think that was kind of an unveiling process for me, being like, okay, so this part of me really needs love from other people, and like how can I do that for myself, and then how can I, and I think, and it really came into connecting back to like how I felt in my body too, and how much I really disconnected from that, and not even being able to kind of identify like where I was holding feelings when in our first sessions. That was like really like took a lot of thought, and by the end of just kind of being able to really feel things and almost use that to inform then what I was thinking of, like, okay, wow, I can really feel that, in my shoulders now. Like, what is that? Where am I coming from? Where am I really speaking from now?
Totally. And, a lot of women don't realize how much they're in their head space, like in their head energy and in their shoulder space. And they're completely disconnected from their heart, their womb, and their hips, right? Which is more
Yeah.
the feminine energy. Yeah. And so looking back now, how would a man have felt? How would your partner have felt with you, and with you putting yourself under that much pressure?
I think he would feel just as much pressure from, just from the energy I was giving off. I'd come home from work, and like work was still just like totally all over. He just kind of got what was left
Yeah.
over from work,
Yeah.
I feel like. And then having to navigate me in kind of still this space of like being directive and and I couldn't turn that off. So he kind of had to figure out, okay, well, he didn't really feel that needed. I mean, I don't think I hadn't given him any space to fill any need. And I think that was like a huge point for me to realize like, wow, like where could he fit in? I was saying I needed him, but like wasn't showing any space that I was willing to give room for someone else to kind of come in and help care. And on top of that, we had so much pressure on myself that it was absolutely just spilling out into pressure on him, pressure on us, pressure on kind of like where we were going and what we were doing. And just, I mean, if I were him, I would have run too. I don't think like it wasn't a place to really to feel that much love because I wasn't feeling it internally. I wasn't feeling it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think about that?
If we had had this, if we had jumped forward to this session in that beginning, I think I probably would have just like curled up inside and been like, I can't do this. I think that I've come to this point because had so much self-loathing, I think, really, of just being like, oh my God, just one more thing to add to what I did wrong. And now I can look at it and say, you know what? Like, I didn't have the tools at that point. I have learned so much, and like, just to be compassionate for that part of me that was still learning, and that this is, I wanted to think I had it all figured out, and I was totally bumbling along with it too. And that's okay. Like, that was part of like forgiving myself for not knowing what I didn't know, and being so grateful to now be able to take this forward. And I think being able to kind of hold both of those.
Yeah, and I think just your entire energy, Robin, is so relaxing. The way that you're communicating right now is so open-hearted, so relaxing. It puts whoever's listening to you at ease. It's so not pressured. You know what I mean? And essentially, you know, I always talk about how it's your energy. It's not what you do. It's not how hard you try to be irresistible. It's not, you know, all these things. And throughout this process, you learned also not just how to have really compassionate self-care on your own soul and heart and all the parts of you that you were ashamed of, kind of to bring them in and say, you're accepted, you're allowed, right? But you also learned how to kind of step back into your passions and into your dreams. So how was that for you? How was it for you having a part of you that was in so much pain and so concerned about what would happen with him, but also kind of getting up slowly and building your life and caring for yourself emotionally? How was that journey?
Oh my gosh, it's been so powerful. It's been like finding this whole other world, really. It feels like magic in some ways, which sounds
Yeah,
which
I love that word. It's so true.
it's so true though. And had I known this, I would not, I mean, it's just amazing. To me, it's just amazing kind of like what comes up every single day, not just, and it's been totally aside from relationships, really. It's been in my work life and kind of like where I've moved. I think it felt like I had this unleashed some type of power that I could then use and kind of ignite when I needed it to help me kind of really reorient where I was going. So for me, it meant stepping back from a career that I could feel like I could have really excelled in, and really needing to take back time for myself to think like, okay, where do I really want to go? And what do I really need, like really deep inside of me? And I think to me, there's just been and it's been felt by I think everyone in my life too, that there's just been a shift in the way
What do people tell you?
I mean, well, what's amazing is just people come to me. Like so many people will approach me that I was at this event. I just moved to a new city, was at this event the other night and was so surprised, just came to listen and kind of feel kind of the new scene, and was so amazed by the people that approached me, wanted to give me their business card, come, like, let's get coffee, and I want to tell you about what we're doing and how I think you could be a great fit for this company. And it was just fascinating to just receive that attention in just a totally different way, and just really approaching all aspects of my life.
Feminine.
Yeah, exactly.
The feminine there is your compassion and nurturance to every part of you within you. So
Yes.
the needy little girl inside, which we all have, it's you turning and saying, I love you and I embrace you and I'm compassionate towards you, right? Like the part of you, because, you know, and we're going to get a little bit more into feminine and masculine, but, you know, the part of you that wants to take control of a relationship and not let a man be a man. It's like, no, I understand you. You're just trying to get love, right? And so turning that back inwards, how does that feel in your body?
It feels amazing. I mean, it just
relaxation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so the way that you feel in your body and the way that you feel in your emotions is what everyone else around you feels, because you're healing. Yeah. You know, your relationship with yourself is coming into one of love. And you know, Robin just naturally began stating, you know, talking about feminine energy, which is she's saying, I'm allowing, I'm receptive to opportunities. I'm allowing things to come my way. I'm nurturing of myself. I am accepting of myself. I'm, you know, not forcing things, not trying things. And that's the essence of feminine energy, right? And so how would you say that you were doing it before?
Well, two things are happening. One, I feel like I'd come in with a clear agenda of like, okay, there's something I need to get from this scenario or situation. So it's very direct. I mean, it's almost as if like tunnel vision, kind of like I needed to go in this one direction and I like couldn't see kind of the sides beyond just going forward. And it was so depleting. I mean, and it felt so conflicted because I wasn't necessarily getting what I wanted. It didn't feel good. Mm-hmm. And yet I felt like that was like what I was supposed to be doing, that I needed to keep pushing forward because that's the only way we can succeed, is to keep pushing forward. And I'd really kind of adopted that mentality, and yet was feeling so depleted and worn out from it. And I think that's what's been so fascinating to see a shift of, and I definitely go back into that sometimes, and sometimes it can be useful. I mean, sometimes there are times where I need to kind of pull everything together and be like, okay, we're going in this direction, and to know that, but to be able to know when I need to elevate that or use that, and then when I can be like, okay, this is a scenario where you are safe and you can relax and kind of lean back and really receive whatever is in kind of the situation. And I think for me, it was just realizing that those are both at my disposal to use.
At your disposal, exactly. Yeah. Right. So how would you say that, you know, because we spoke about, you know, being in masculine when it comes to men.
Yeah.
How would you say, because we've also talked about, you know, some of the women in your life falling in either one of the two camps, and the women that fall into the very masculine camps feeling like it's empowering to be masculine with men, but somehow not getting the same results with men. Can you speak to that and just share with women what you've discovered through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is probably the most fascinating for me. I have an incredible group of girlfriends that, and a section of them are really identified with kind of probably more masculine energy of just driving forward and needing to kind of move forward in that energy. But what was so fascinating was how even when they so connect with those terms, or that kind of like driving power, feeling like there's something that they're missing in a relationship with a man, wanting to feel like they don't always have to take the lead. They don't always have to step up and be the one to initiate the next direction, or be the one to, and feeling so much more comfortable when they do have a man that can say, no, I'm going to, like, this is my turn and I'm leading this situation or date or next step or trip, whatever it was. And it was so interesting to be able to really see that same need that they had, even though, and knowing that this was really connected to this underlying desire to also have their feminine.
So what would be your message for women that subconsciously feel that, being masculine is the only true way to be powerful, and being feminine isn't powerful somehow?
Yeah, I would say I have been there, and I know how scary it is to let go of that the control we think we have. And that process, though, of kind of moving from control to just trusting and seeing where you lie when you just let yourself be is just so powerful. And I feel that it's more powerful for me to come from a place because it's so much more natural for me. I don't have to be thinking through my next step. And instead, I've found this, it's like a superpower. I think there's like something really magical about what happens when I can just come from right here inside of me, as opposed to thinking so much in my head, or like, how can I be more powerful? I just can like embody that power.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And if you were to describe to the ladies who might ask, well, how did you do that journey? Like in these 3 months in this work, how did you go from feeling really kind of low self-worth and controlling and pressured and more masculine to now feeling just really grounded and at home within yourself? How can you just kind of describe a little bit of how that process happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the process started with me realizing that I could feel myself desiring something different, and really trying to follow that. And as much as I could, following that desire to connect more. And it was a whisper at first. It was like such a whispering voice that was just saying like, we need something different. And really trying to like tap into that. And then I think a lot had to do with through our conversations. I always would say like the very first conversation Gio and I had was like fairy dust that she gave me. And then I like used it up all in the like first day and was like, oh man, like now I'm back to like, I don't know how to do this.
I hear that all the time. Yes.
And the next one was like, okay, now I have it for 2 days. Like I have to hold it closer and like, I'll be able to do this. And sometimes it would literally be like, okay, what would Gio say right now? Sometimes it was that. Sometimes it was, reading other books about like really understanding my feminine and really coming into what did that mean for me, and allowing myself to have a definition of it that fit for me. And I think that was really important, and not exploring. And I think the big one was letting go of my inner judge, or at least telling her to just take a little bit of a break, because she was really, really powerful. And even to the point that I'd be like writing in my journal and these thoughts would come out and like, I could hear her being like, are you kidding? Like that would never come out of your mouth. Like, since when have you ever wanted to be soft and like sensual and just being like, okay, we're going to just like let that part of Robin come out on paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we can explore it later. You can come back in a little bit. And slowly that part of me felt so much more comfortable and just being me. And I think it was it was like it was like dating myself, really, of really figuring out what did my heart need and how could I make sure that my heart trusted me in the same way that I so wanted it to.
You said something so powerful right now. And that is that you being true to your heart, giving your heart space to be. You weren't trying to change your heart. You were just know your heart. That right there is the entire essence of the feminine, because masculine is we're trying to get him to love us. We're trying to get him to commit to us, right? And the whole time we're bypassing his heart and we're not even getting to know his heart. So and why was that? Because you were in a position that all of us find ourselves in until we do this work, which is, what do I have to get myself to be to get love?
Yes.
And when you finally said, I don't have to be anything, what's in my heart? What are all the pieces in my heart? I'm just going to sit here. When the inner, when the part of me that's super judgmental comes up, I'm going to she's my girlfriend, you know, she's in my hood, and
Yeah.
she comes up and she kicks butt when I need her to, but she's been driving my life. So, okay, now there's a greater Robin stepping up. And so it's kind of like that passing of the torch, right?
Yeah.
Like my judge has tried to keep me safe and in line so that I would be accepted and loved. But now a greater part of me is taking this torch and moving further, right? In that place of, and then you said something so, so powerful. You said, I had to find my own definition of femininity. And that is right there, the difference between manipulative love and accepting real, powerful love, which is manipulative love is like, you read a book and you're like, how can I be feminine so I'm irresistible?
Right.
You know, like, how can I fit into this formula of this one woman that's going to call a man's greatest self? And a man wants us to call his greatest uniqueness forth. He wants us to call his deepest soul forth, which is unique and unlike any other. And so if you're trying to fit into a formula, again, you're going to try to fit him into a formula of love. And so you saying, my feminine is actually the space that allows, again, that feminine word, allows me to be fully me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was a huge thing.
Huge. That's huge. I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took things like realizing, like, what does it mean to choose me today? And for me, sometimes that would mean, I'd be like, okay, I need to go out tonight. Like, I'm going out with friends, we're going out, and be like, wait a second, like, is that really what I want to do right now? Is that me choosing me? And it was a shift. It was often a shift from what sometimes it wouldn't be a shift. Sometimes I'd still go forward with what I had planned to do anyway. Yeah. But taking that moment to pause and really think through, like, okay, is this me choosing me first and really getting in touch with me first?
Yeah. And I mean, what does that do to you when you are considerate of your own emotions like that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it just means that my heart feels so much safer. Like we have a great relationship now. And I think it helps though with like all the other things that come up too. Like my relationships feel so much deeper with my friends and my family, and just because I really do think I'm not so conflicted internally in terms of like, okay, which side of like what's going to come out. And just like having that kind of more depth with my own, like knowing that there's so much more to explore, but being okay with that depth. And really accepting the pieces that come out.
Yeah. And so it's in a sense, it's like letting go of control, but you know that you can let go of control because you've spent time with all those parts of you and you've decided they're acceptable.
Yes.
So, because you've spent that time in that presence with yourself in your inner world. And, you know, again, I just love what you said. You know, you said, I'm safe with myself, right? And so what is that going to do? How is that going to reflect with a man? He's going to feel so safe with you. And so immediately you're leading with your heart, you're leading with your soul, which is the ultimate feminine. And that's when a man says, this is my soulmate, this is marriage material, this is someone that feels so soothing to my soul. And I can be that man, I can be that protector, because that's what a man's going to want to do, you know, because his heart feels so safe. He's going to want to protect that. He's going to want to stand up for that. And so as we round this amazing conversation out, Robin, so, you know, we did the whole process of, you know, you sent me an email and said, I'm seeing him again.
Yes.
And we just kind of walked through that process, and it brought up, you know, a lot of emotions. And it also had you really experience yourself in a different way. So I would, you know, I want you to just share with all these women how the feminine is magic with men, and how different this re-meeting of you guys, because this was just a few days ago that you saw him again. And can you just share with us a little bit about how that went?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know all the girls are going to be like on the edge of their seats waiting for this part.
This was, it was amazing. It was, I just love thinking back on it because it was so different from how we had connected before. And I could almost see kind of when he opened the door and saw me for the first time that it was going to be different. There was just something different in the way he looked at me and the way that we interacted. I mean, you would think that there was going to be some, like awkward beginning, and it just wasn't. It was, it was something where I just felt so at home in myself and was coming and wanted to see him from that place of where I could just keep connecting back to being like, I choose myself first, and I'm here to just receive where you are and see what that's like. There's no other agenda or, list of things I want to make sure we talk through. I just want to be with him. And what was so amazing was just how he stepped up.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Of like, it was, so it'd be, one, he wanted to have this whole plan of, of what we were going to do. So we have a dog. So we first played with the dog, and then we were sitting and talking, and he just really wanted to hear about my next steps, which was really exciting to talk about. And I could tell in just the way he was looking at me that like he knew something was different. And I am someone who, I love the color black. It's my favorite color to wear, but I purposely chosen to wear other colors.
Love it.
And it felt, so I was wearing this like really bright blue shirt. It looked really good. I was really excited.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I felt really good.
Snap.
Yeah, exactly. And he was, you could just see it in his eye. Like it was like he was looking at me like I was magic. Like it was just like I was some like unicorn or something from somewhere.
Like I was some unicorn. I love that.
I have it was fascinating. He has like such long, beautiful eyelashes. It was just really fun. And we were kind of winding down a little bit, and he goes, well, he used to always make me waffles. So he decided, he asked, well, do you want to make waffles? So I said, that sounds like a great idea. And it was something that I'd kind of like hoped we would have some additional kind of time together. And yet it was like, okay, this would be a time where in my kind of where I was when we kind of left off, I would have been like, okay, so now let's maybe transition to doing something else, and was just like, you know what, just let this happen how it happens. And then he would do something like that, and just he would keep it going. And that was like so amazing to me that we were able to just I was able to just watch and see him, and yeah, it meant we had these long silences that I think otherwise I would have felt, okay, I got to fill this with something, and instead was able to just like, let me just really see him. Let me look into his eyes and think like, what is he going through right now? Because there's a million other things going on in his head, as I know. But just to really try to like hold that space for us, and then to have him just step up into it. And I think the one, at the end that was so amazing to me was I was getting ready to say goodbye, almost. We were sitting there, and I said, in my head, I could feel my like energy rising and be like, okay, should I tell him like this has been amazing to see him and all of these things, and was like kind of contemplating, and like took a breath and was like, okay, like lower that back down. Like, let's just like stay with this, and like took a deep breath, like just really feeling what it was like to be with him. And then he said the exact same. He was like, it has been so amazing to be with you. And I was just like, oh, you know what? From now on, I felt so much better. Like I didn't have to think so hard, and I didn't have to try so hard, and I could really just like love being me. And he started giving these compliments that he would never give. Like he always had so much.
Yeah, you said that. Okay, so I remember us talking about this, and you said something how you used the word harping, where you would say,
yes,
why don't you say I'm beautiful, or why don't you? And now they were naturally coming out from him, right? Can you share that with us?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So in the beginning, I remember in our relationship I even was like, girl 101 is to like tell a girl she's beautiful.
Yeah. And let's stop right there. How does that feel in your body? Girl 101.
Oh my gosh, it's like awful. It's it's so tense in my body and so just like so directive. And it meant that anytime he would try to say it, we both knew it didn't feel like, even if he meant it, I would immediately like wipe it off. Like, yeah. Like, where did you learn to say that? Like, it just, I could never receive it as a compliment.
Totally.
I can feel it rising in my body right now. But so that was maybe the most magical part of all of it, was him. We were sitting there and he just was like, "You are so beautiful."
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
I loved it because all I could do was like, "Thank you," like, "Thank you," and like really feel it, and feel it just, and then it was just like the energy between us would rise because I was really feeling what he was saying, and he was able to kind of step up more. You could like see it in his body, and like that, and the chemistry there was just so different. I mean, it was so good because I was allowing him to take up that space, and I could just mold into the space that I wanted to be in. It was I walked away being like, this is magical. Like, we both still feel this 100. I mean, it was just so different. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Robin, I know you're going to be with me for a little longer, and we're going to walk you through the next couple months. But I just, and he's obviously 2 or 3 days later, he sent you an email, and he's already seeking you out, and it's just beautiful. And you're leading with your heart, really, which is really what it's all about. So thank you for sharing this message today with women that says that their truth inside as women is truly the most beautiful part of them, and it's just kind of coming back home to themselves and giving themselves that chance to be safe and home to their own souls, right?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, this is all because I have you, so I love you. I will say I love you because this is amazing. It's just unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll be in touch, and thank you again to beautiful Robin for sharing with all of us her magic journey, and I will be in touch with all of you soon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. And if you, beautiful, find yourself in a place in your life where you feel really stuck in love, where you feel like you don't feel confident with men, you don't feel confident in your worth, and you're showing up not as the radiant woman that's so full of light and peace and fullness within her that you have inside, then I want to invite you to connect with me. I'm going to be offering a limited amount of free consultations with me. You get 40 minutes of my expert attention on you. And I want to hear your story. I want to hear what's going on. I want to help you figure out what's been stopping you from really attracting and keeping an amazing man that pursues you, adores you, and commits to you, and help you lay down the next steps to actually making this happen in record time. So I will be connecting with some of you soon, and for everyone else listening, I'll be back soon with some more amazing stuff. Bye-bye.